everybody and welcome to the channel. Bobsales this time's next year.
An invisible gang at work? Who are we gonna call? Unfortunately, the police are the only ones available to combat what some are already dubbing the silent crime wave, but perhaps the most disturbing silence.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are coming to the Veve app. But before we get into the drop, let's get into the story. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created in 1983 by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. The first idea, the first drawing, actually just started as imagining animals as Bruce Lee. They ended up with the idea of making the slowest animal as one of the fastest fighting men. Remember, be like water, my friend. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' first appearance was in 1984. This was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 1. This was published by, of course, Mirage Studios, founded by Eastman and Laird. The studio was a simple lived-in studio apartment at the time, and this was why they actually called the company Mirage Studios. The company at the time was just that, a mirage. The original comic was a parody of popular comics at the time, especially Daredevil, Ronin and New Mutants. The original comic was gritty with violence and mature themes. The Turtles as babies come into contact with radioactive ooze. Because of this, they grew in size, intelligence and strength.
So basically what you're telling me is you guys were all slimed.
It wasn't slime, it was ooze.
Later, they're trained in Jiu-Jitsu by a rat named Splinter. He was also contaminated by the same ooze. Splinter was actually once a pet of a human named Yoshi. As Yoshi trained, so did Splinter. Splinter started to copy his master's moves in the cage. Replicating his master's movements, he essentially learned martial arts. Splinter's owner was later killed by his rival Orokosaki, also known as the Shredder. A surviving Splinter escaped to New York City sewers where he found the Turtles. Splinter actually named the Turtles after a Renaissance artist and then also trained them in ninjutsu to honour his former master, raising them as his own sons. Of course, you got Leonardo, the disciplined leader, blue bandana with the katanas.
Huddle, come here, come on. Mikey, you go at the middle, you guys take the sides, get it? Got it, good. I don't get it.
Michelangelo was a fun-loving jokester, orange bandana with a nunchuck. Donatello was the tech genius, purple bandana had a bow staff. Raphael was the hot-headed rebel, red bandana and a traditional size.
Home run! Raphael wins! 1-0!
The Turtles live in the sewers of New York City with their master. They skate, eat pizza, and fight the criminal element known as the Foot Clan. The Foot, of course, are led by the fearless tin opener, the Shredder. Now, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles really took off with a kids' cartoon in 1987. I watched the cartoon growing up and I actually have the videotape still in my old bedroom at my mum's today. Some actually know it as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, some know it as Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, depends where you're based. This was actually down to the fact that the word ninja was deemed too serious for a child's toy at the time. This word actually translates as assassin. So the cartoon was actually produced by Fred Wolf Films and the series follows the adventures of the Turtles and Splinter and their allies as they battle the Shredder, Krang and numerous other villains. Also Bebop and Rocksteady. In this series, the property was actually changed a lot from the darker tone comics anyway. This was of course to make it more suitable for the kids. The series was only ever made to sell Playmate toys. The toys was made before the series. This was essentially the same as He-Man. It was only made to sell toys. But we will get back to the toys in a little bit. So first let's talk about the movies. The first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series was released in 1990. The live action film was a major success, grossing over $200 million worldwide on a $15 million budget. The movie follows the comic origin story about the four turtles and Splinter. The movie actually went back to the comic book version, darker in tones, darker in movie shots, and had an element for their adults. I mean, we literally watch April O'Neil get slapped in the face. Now, most people asked to make this movie simply didn't know how, or how to pull it off, so they simply refused or didn't think it would work. The good news, however, the studio that picked it up was Golden Harvest Pictures. They also brung to the table Jim Henderson, as he actually worked there at the time. Yes, the puppet's creator. Also, Golden Harvest had Japanese-style fighters to do their action in the suits. Then they would simply add voices of American actors, just like the Power Rangers. So the turtles in the film are essentially two people. There's one suit actor, there's one voice actor, and then there's multiple stunt doubles and teams controlling the movements, the eyebrows, etc. This movie is the first time also the turtles' names were shortened down. In this movie you actually see Mikey use his nunchucks, whereas a lot of the times after they were only ever used playfully. This was down to them being deemed a too violent weapon.
Combat cold cuts!
We also have the debut of live-action Casey Jones, played by actor Elias Cotes, and we also have the live-action debut of April O'Neil, and both parts were played well. Judith, the actress that actually played April, said the outfit with the red hair may have been too much from the actual cartoon. She did don the iconic yellow coat, however, but her hair was a natural curly look. Now we also have to mention the look of Shredder in this film. That look was actually sharp, left you in awe, and every time he was on the screen, he literally was the bad villain he was deemed to be. Another fun fact for you, even though Playmate was the exclusive toy producer for the Turtles, no figures was made for this movie. This was down to it being seen as too dark and not kid friendly.
Check it out, man. Anything you guys want, we got it. Anything you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Anything. You got any cigarettes? Regular or menthol?
The second Turtles movie, Secrets of the Ooze, carries on from where the first movie left off. The second film, however, is lighter in mood and tones, also in shots, showing a more playful side to the teenagers and similar to the cartoon. This film digs deeper into the creation of the ooze, where it come from, and in this film we get Toka and Razor. As Shredder would say, babies! Babies! They're babies! This was released in 1991 by New Line Cinema. It received mixed reviews from critics at the time, who said it departed from the much darker tone of the original film. This film actually grossed 78.7 million against a budget of 25 million. This also became the 13th highest grossing film domestically in its year. The film, although not as true to the original stories and the tone, was still a smash hit, and personally I love them both. We also got the introduction of Keno the Pizza Boy. Fun fact, he was actually one of the actor's stunt doubles that would do the fight scenes in the suit of Donatello. This was on the first movie set. This film again was mainly made lighter, down to Playmates wanting to be able to make the toy. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that for the first one.
No turtle on the shelf.
And so I went to a second store.
No turtle on the shelf.
And I went to a third store.
Well, you get the idea.
Now we can't talk about this second film and not mention the Vanilla Ice nightclub scene. The producers actually approached Vanilla Ice and asked him to create a rap for the movie's soundtrack. He was given the script and told to make it ice. In the movie, Vanilla Ice actually performs a song in the club while the Turtles fight Toka and Razor. But did you know his scene rapping and dancing was all improvised? This was of course to allow the Turtles and Toka and Razor to fight around them. The song became a memorable part of the film itself and solidified Vanilla Ice's connection to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. It was actually a major success. And again, this was probably the real first white rapper. Sorry, Eminem. Now, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #3, sometimes known as Turtles in Time, was released in 1993. The plot revolves around being sucked back to early Japan. Now, this film actually received mostly negative reviews, with the general consensus from everyone that the film did not really feature any Turtles villains or anything from the original stories from Mirage Comics. Now the developers after this film felt the franchise had run its course. It did receive moderate box office success, though it was the lowest grossing entry in the series, grossing 55 million against a budget of 21 million. The costume designer also changed for this film. The turtle suits and animatronics were created by All Effects Company, which took over from Jim Henderson's Creature Shop, the company responsible for the costume in the first two films. The suits of the third film, however, the new look was not as good in my opinion, and I think this also took away from the original film fans and also the film itself. This could have been the end.
Disposed.
Season 6 of the Power Rangers in Space. In particular, episode 3, Save Our Ship, and episode 4, Shell Shock. The crossover was to be part of a special event pairing two children's live action franchises, Rangers and the Turtles. This was obviously for the novelty of it, likely boostings in ratings, and of course to sell more toys.
See what happened?
This now leads us to the worst decision in Turtle history. The fifth turtle, Venus de Milo. She was a female mutant turtle. She was trained in the mystic shinobi arts, wearing a light blue mask bandana. Why was she added, you ask? You already know the answer by now. The toys. Most sources say Fox, or the show's producer, insisted a female turtle to be added. This was to expand the appeal and of course bring more girls to the genre. Of course the Power Rangers had girls and this made girls watch the shows. Fox basically said if you want to have it in the show, it will have a girl turtle. In this, the original turtles were not related by blood at all, which opened the door to treating Venus as not a sister but possibly a lover. The next mutation is considered to be one of the worst mistakes ever, with poor production quality and a goofy tone and a goofy overall look. The addition of Venus felt gimmicky for fans. Introducing a female turtle disrupted the core dynamic of the four brothers, and the Venus design and backstory felt forced. Co-creator Peter Laird is quoted as hating the character. There is absolutely no mention of Venus de Milo in the backstory, and he was against the idea. Both creators had always had the plan they would never add a fifth turtle.
I said, yeah, well, it's not what we'd originally envisioned, but I could see that, and I think it would be great.
Well, that's one down. And as for Peter...
No way. There's 4 turtles. There's Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello. That's it.
He did say if Kevin wanted to do it, he could run with it, but he would have nothing to do with it, and it must be overseen. This eventually led to the breakup of the creators and good friends, with Laird essentially buying Kevin out of his half of the company. Laird said he would never sell, but later did. Now, Eastman also wanted to move on to other projects at the time, like Heavy Metal Magazine, while Laird wanted to continue working on the Turtles. The exact figure has never been disclosed, but multiple interviews and industry sources claim it was in the low millions range. Eastman went on to say the deal was fair. Peter brought me out completely, lock, stock and barrel. I can't say how much, but it was enough to make me comfortable and let me do other things. So after 20 years, the friends and partners parted ways.
I wish things had been different.
Laird was approached by Viacom, who actually owned Nickelodeon, and they wanted to create their very own kids show. Nickelodeon at the time had no toy action show for boys, and it's what they needed for their channel and also merchandise. Nickelodeon actually offered Laird $62 million, and he took it.
The deal was $60 million.
Yeah, it just seemed like the right time to do it.
And none of this, however, would go to Kevin.
$60 million.
That's too bad.
Playmate toys also come with that deal. Later adoptions and Turtles movies come out. This was in the form of CGI. The bulky look wasn't for everyone, but the movies had gone on to make their own success. I also enjoy these movies. As mentioned, it's Playmates Toys, the company that made the toys and still do. They actually paid $150,000 to get the rights to make the toys at the time. It was also down to this, the Turtles actually had different colour bandanas. Originally, all the bandanas were red. This was to identify the different characters when making toys. Same as the belts, all now had their initials, just to sell the toys so you could tell each one apart. Did you also know that the Turtles originally all had tails in the comic book? Funny thing is, when they actually went to make their toys, it could be mistaken for something else. Now let's do some more fun facts about the suits, the actors and everything else. The heads were remote controlled animatronics operated by puppeteers off camera. Each Turtle's head actually had 60 points of movement. The actors inside the suits were essentially blind, sweating, heavy and performed in 90 degrees conditions. Also, fun fact, did you know that all 4 actors who played the in-suit Turtles also appeared in cameos in the first movie? Michelangelo was the pizza guy.
122, 122 and an 8. 122 and an 8.
Donatello as the messenger of the foot. Raphael was actually a passenger in the taxi.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
Leonardo was also featured as a member of the Foot Clan. Even co-creator Kevin was a dustbin man in the film. Laird chose to stay out of it. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles suits have deteriorated over the years. This is due to the foam latex, and also they weren't made to last. One of the creators actually had the Donatello suit, and it stood in his office for about 15 years. He actually made a wooden skeleton for the suit itself to pose it, but it actually fell off down to the weight, down to absorbing so much moisture. Now, there are longer videos regarding these suits, But I better get moving because this video has been quite long. So if you want to see them, go to the description. I'll tag them in there. Go and have a look at the horror show of the Suits. So the reason for this video, Veve have actually teamed up with Paramount and they're releasing digital collectible versions of the Turtles, also dioramas. Of course, you need to play sets with the toys, right? The latest release is going to be Raphael and that's happening this week. For more information about that, please go to the Veve website. If you are new to Veve, however, please use the QR code at the top to sign up and get yourself $10 free to use in the app.
There is one more thing. It's been emotional.
As always, I've been your host, Bob Sales. This time next year, we will be millionaires. Peace!
Yeah. April, it's Mikey. I'd just like to say hello. Would you give me that?